Well, welcome to Awake with Jevon. My name is Jevon, and today I have a wonderful guest that I've had such beautiful experiences with over the years now. I can't believe it's been years since I first uh,
Yeah.
connected with you through Denise Darlene. Do you remember Denise?
Yes, I do.
Okay, appropriate answer since we're recording it and she's going to be watching it. Like,
No, I do.
you don't remember me?
I do remember.
So we have Teresa Glavin-Kline, and Teresa's uh, service, she's called Claire Energy. You can find her at claireenergy.com. And Teresa is an energy intuitive. Such a wonderful wonderful word, because it makes me ask, well, what's that? An energy intuitive. I love it. But my connection with you so far has been such uh, beautiful times of asking you about my book and if I'm on the right direction, and what spirit and God or anything like that whole frame, like, hey, am I going in the right direction? Is this a good thing? Is this helping the world? And even connecting with even the things you've done with my family, with connecting with loved ones, even that have passed over, and you've just done a really wonderful thing. And so maybe I'm hoping that people can connect with you more. So welcome.
Thank you.
To,
Thank you for inviting me into your space. I love it.
yeah, well, good. So let me ask you, Teresa, what is it to be awake? What does that mean to you from your space?
For me, I look at it as being awake is really embodying my true spirit and my and not just being me. Honestly, I mean, to be awake is to be yourself and to not be dictated by others' perceptions of you or what society thinks you should be doing.
Yeah.
It's just really following, following your spirit. Really, it's just, to me, that's what being awake is to be fully embodied in your spirit and being all of you.
So it seems like it would be simple to be yourself. Doesn't that sound simple? But
Yeah, it does. Yeah, but
it
it's not.
it's not simple. Why is it so difficult to be ourselves, you think? And what does that even mean to be ourselves versus what most people, I would say most people in the West anyway, we're not ourselves. We are what others think we should be, what
Yeah,
society thinks we should be, what our family thinks we should be, all those storylines. So what does that
you're
mean
right.
to be ourselves?
I mean, I think to be yourself is to be, again, it's this like it's really peeling away all those layers that are placed upon us in our lifetime. Just, I really think we're our true selves when we're just, when we're fresh out of the womb, right? Like we're just like this. You've got children, so it's like they're just so there. They're so present. They're so like, hey, I'm here. Like all I need some food and my diaper changed and the cuddle and
Yeah.
but they're just like, they haven't been programmed yet. You know what I mean? Like they're fresh from the factory, right? Like, the programming hasn't begun.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think it's like getting back to that, you know, what I sometimes I call it factory settings, meaning like, the settings that we came with when we're a baby and we're not been programmed yet. Like I don't know. I sometimes use analogies of computers and stuff, which I'm not a computer person at all, but it just seems seamlessly to use it. But like when you get a brand new computer and it works so great and it's so fast, and because it just hasn't had all that stuff put on it yet, right?
Right.
That's all that stuff that we get through our lifetime of like just trying to follow the rules, trying to be, what our parents expect us to be, what we think we should be. And, it's like getting back to, wow, you know what? It can't be this complicated to be myself, and it's
Yeah.
just, and it's just a matter of just like, you can do through meditation or just mindfulness, but I mean, it is a practice, but it's just like, making an intention of like, okay, I'm ready to like, I want to peel away these layers of these, these dense layers of just life that I've absorbed here. And like, I really want to get back to my roots, right? I want to get back to my original operating system, right?
And is that
You're,
is that
yeah.
what you're doing as an intuitive healer, or energy intuitive? Is that you're helping people peel back layers?
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like, I'm going in there and defragging your system, right? Like getting rid of all the
That's an old
gunk.
computer word.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back to the
But
defrag. You gotta.
I mean, like, again, I'm not a computer person. This stuff just kind of comes in. I don't know if it's somebody I channel a lot, and it's like, I open myself up and say, okay, give me the words, right? God, give me the words. And they come in all kinds of different ways. And sometimes it's computer stuff, which I have no idea what I'm talking about, but
Yes.
it just comes in, right? But yeah, it's just, just like cleaning up your system and just getting you down to where, back to your true self, which, all this stuff, like that's one thing when I first started doing energy work, it was, there's a lot of different modalities out there, and they're all wonderful, and they all actually work for the same purpose. But there's so many different ways you can go about doing it. And some people like the more complicated things. And I'm just very simple. And I was just like, I remember at the beginning, somebody was kind of showing me how they do energy work. And I was like, it can't be that complicated. Come on, it's got to be pretty simple, And so I always, have always asked to please help me to, show me the most simplest ways to speak to somebody in terms so they can understand. And also I want my work to be just very streamlined and very simple and get right to the root, right? Like, I don't need all this pomp and circumstance, right? I just let's get down to business. Let's get this done,
Now,
and that's how,
who or what is it that you're asking when you say, help me to be simple and get right to the root?
Who am I asking?
You ask that right before you do a session.
Yeah.
Are you asking that too?
Yeah, you can call it God, you can call it the universe, you can call it spirit. I think of it as, it is kind of who I really am. It's like that higher self. We are all of our, we are really, I mean, it is a kind of a overused thing to say we are all connected, but we really are. We are all the same consciousness. It's just we're experiencing consciousness in individual ways, but at the core, we're all the same consciousness. So all the wisdom, everything that's ever happened, that ever was or ever will be, is in that collective consciousness if you tap into it, right?
Yeah.
So like when I ask, I think of that as, our creator, or the person that, whoever brought forth this consciousness. So you can call it God, you can, however you want to, whatever term you'd like to use. I tend to think it's God. And so he's the master, he's the one that brought forth our consciousness, right? And so he's the creator. And so that's who I ask, like, speak through me, work through me. So, give me the words to use properly that this person needs to hear. During a reading, sometimes it's, when I do a reading, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. And sometimes it's not what they want to hear, but they kind of know, they know on a deeper level, like, yeah, I really, I already knew that, but right. But it's just confirmation.
So it's an interesting analogy of peeling away onion layers to get somewhere, so to speak, because the thing you're getting to is already there. So this thing that we're looking for, it seems like, and we touched on that earlier, it seems like we already are that. And so the work that you do is not necessarily helping people become something, right? Be better, become better.
They're already off. They're already fabulous. It's just a matter of getting them to really make the connection of, that who they really are, how wonderful they are, and so that they can just take off with it, right? So I think of it's more of like, I'm just I'm just a helper. Like, I'm just somebody that's there to help you to, you know, get reconnected with your real self.
What would what should people expect when they're working for you? I mean, what's the mechanics? I mean, we're sitting and we're talking, and you just, I mean, do you have your own rituals or techniques that you use to tap in, or are you just kind of?
I'm free. I'm pretty, I'm, I'm very, I just always approach my work like I didn't ever want to get, um, attached to any type of modality or anything like that. I just wanted to be very open because everyone needs something. Everyone's different. Everyone's had a different life experience. Their perceptions are different than mine. So I have to be completely open. So I just approach it like, okay, I just know that I have the ability to be able to do the work that I do. I don't if somebody said, "Oh, well, how do you do that?" I'm like, I really don't even actually know. I just, I know I can do it and I know it works and I know I've helped,
Yeah.
lots of people in my years of doing this work. And I don't really need to know. I just trust. And so, it's just, I just open myself up. And sometimes that, when I'm sitting with somebody, sometimes it's purely like working on their energy. Sometimes it is their loved one coming through and delivering a message that they really needed to hear in order for them to get to the next level of their spiritual evolution. Because I really believe that we are going through a spiritual evolution right now. This is what's all happening right now, but it's just helping them along in the process. And so I just allow myself to be open, and it comes through in so many different ways. Every session I do is completely different.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's like all of a sudden I'm like, I'll be talking a language, not like a foreign language. I'm not at that level yet, but like I'll be talking verbiage that I don't even understand, but they understand. I'll be using terms like, say the person is an engineer or something. All of a sudden I'm talking in terms of engineering, which I have no idea what the heck I'm talking about. But
Like
they make,
defragging a computer. You're like,
yeah, like I don't understand what that is, but hey, but I just use that term. It just, because I just trust that the words are going to come through, because again, it's like, I know I'm tapped into this immense wisdom of the universe, and I just know that it's going to flow through me, and I'm going to find the right words to use for that person. And so I just trust it, and it works and it flows. And I think that that's, again, that's learning to trust, like learning to tap in and trust and not question.
yeah.
I mean, I still question it, don't get me wrong, in my own personal life. I mean, like,
Being,
I don't always trust myself.
being
So
empty. So when you're empty of an open, God flows through you in however he sees
yeah.
fit, kind of thing. Is that
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, absolutely. It's like, it's if you think about it, it's like you're decluttering a space so that this information can come through. So it's like, I just look at it. I love creating spaces in, like, we talked about this before the call. I have a women's circle that I host, and it's a Irish and American women's circle. And I love to create these spaces for us to be in. And it's like, and they're all intuitives, and they all do different types of energy work and healing work. And they're just like, man, I've never been in a space like that before. So it's like, I love creating these spaces, because I'm like, well, that's what it's all about. It's like, you can create the same space, and it's like helping people to just really tap into I mean, I'm not special. I mean, I'm just a human being, and everyone can do this type of work. Maybe not the same as me, but you have that ability. It's just a matter of getting, like I call it, getting out of our own way,
yeah,
to get there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So is it always safe to open ourselves up? I mean, I've heard, and I grew up in different circles where it's not safe to completely open yourself up because dark forces will
Oh, yeah.
take advantage of you, and and that, I mean, and then I've even heard in recently that hey, there are times where you can be, they don't necessarily call it bad anymore, but they call it
Yeah.
negative, right? And you got to be intentional Is it
Yeah, no,
always
no.
safe to be completely open?
Well, okay, yeah, maybe I should clarify. When I open myself up, there is an intention that, that that I only allow, the light in, and I feel I'm very protected. I've always felt that way. That yes, is there, I mean, some people call it opposition, or, the evils, the dark side, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's still there. I mean, obviously we have to have the contrasts, right?
Right.
But um but I don't, but I've always made it a point that no, I don't work with that. Like you can't come in the space. You don't have a key to that in any of my spaces. So I'm I've not ever experienced it. I mean, I have experienced feeling like that in my personally, but I just know that all I have to do is just like, okay, yeah, just you know, get back into center. That can't hurt you,
Yeah.
that can't bother you.
I
But
think it
yeah,
was Carla Druckert from the Law of One. Have you ever heard of that? The Law of
no.
whatever. But she said she would always challenge whoever she met energetically, and say something like, "Are you do you support service to all in Christ consciousness?" Or,
Oh,
and
okay.
if not, you have to leave. You're not welcome here. Leave immediately, or something
Okay.
like that. I mean, do you have a
Yeah.
way of doing that, or do you just feel it?
Yeah, I just feel it. Like sometimes during a session, I can feel, and it's really honestly, what that is just it's really just fear. It's just fear that manifests into something bigger. Like it almost fear becomes its own entity, right? It becomes an entity, and we can feed fear, and it can get stronger and stronger. And so like that's how I view it. I don't really view it like, oh, that's evil. I just fear it's fear. It's like it's it's when you're in the fear mode, you are farther away from your true self, right? Like that, you're just being pushed farther away. So you could say you're getting pushed to the dark side, right? But um it's just a matter of, it's just fear, and I can feel it, and I can go like, okay, I can even feel it, like when I do ancestral work, like I'll go, oh wow, I can feel this, there's a really strong thread of, because there's a lot of trauma or a lot of pain, or
Yeah.
just kinds of stuff in family lineages, and then I'm like, okay, we need to raise the vibration on this fear. And
Yeah.
once you raise the vibration on the fear, then it transforms into something else, right? I mean, because obviously nothing in energy never goes away. It will transform into something else, right? So it's never lost. So fear, can be changed by vibrationally. So that's how I approach it. Like, when I see a lot of old fearful patterns, or just there's this fear that's in their energetic body or what have you, it's just a matter of like, okay, I found it, and then if it needs to be identified and talked about, we do. Sometimes I just very silently go, okay, there's that little booger, and then I just raise the vibration on it, and then it goes up, and changes from that fear-based energy to a much lighter energy. But
That is happening inside the other person as you
yeah,
raise it. I mean,
yeah.
do you do it by like sharing their field, and then you raise it within yourself, and that's how it's raised with the other person, or how's that work?
Okay, so what I do is, no, I've learned through the years not to do it that way, because it can take a toll on your own body. So what I do is I create a space, and then our energies go into this very safe space where that I can actually merge with their energy, read them really well, but everything's done in this space so that it doesn't impact my physical body and drain me, and it doesn't affect them negative, in any negative way either. They only feel a lightness. They feel that something has lifted. So it's just a safe space. Like, again, I don't know why. I create these spaces all the time. Like, oh, just go in this space, and you'll be fine. And it, so
I I was doing that the other morning. It was so wonderful. I don't remember. It was in some sort of my early morning, whatever I do in the morning, reading,
Yeah.
meditating, whatever it
Yeah.
is. And I remember this time of when I would take these. I was a youth pastor or youth worker, and I used to take other churches on these houseboat trips.
Oh,
And
cool.
for all summer, we would be in these household, and I would ski them, and we'd cook all their meals, and we'd do like services at night and stuff like that. And it was just like a magical space,
Yeah.
the whole memory. And there was no particular thing about the trip that I brought, but I just brought that magic, and I just felt like that space was around me. And I'm
Yes.
like, oh my gosh, I was sitting in my kitchen, and I'm like, I feel like I'm like on vacation. I'm like, I think
Yeah.
I want to take this with me wherever I go.
Exactly.
Kind
Yeah.
of
And
like that.
exactly those that you have the ability to create these spaces, and you can, if you meditate, you can create it in a meditate, like kind of form it in a meditation if you want. It just comes real natural to me. I mean, I don't have to think about it. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to create this space for this person or this group of people to be in, because like when I do my work, I love like making where we're all connected, but sometimes the connections get corroded. And so I like in families, like I'll take everybody up into a space. I'm like, okay, I'm bringing everybody's energy into this space, and we're all going to like clean up these connections with each other. And it's like I just envision like everybody's around a campfire and holding hands and kumbaya, and that's my thing. I say, okay, it's all kumbaya now. It's all good, So it just means like, okay, you're all connected, have a stronger connection with each other. You're all consciously more connected to each other. And then that helps for going forward with communication. And it all comes down to like being able to communicate better with each other. Because when you're consciously spiritually connected to somebody and we're more consciously aware of it, it does change. It just does change.
Yeah.
It makes a difference.
So
I love.
when you create that space, you are talking with somebody, and they just are automatically going to go there, because I'm sure you don't describe what you just described to me with them. You're just talking to
No,
them, right?
I'm just
They don't.
talking to them, but it's funny because sometimes they'll say, gosh, I just feel like, they said that was the strangest feeling when we were talking, like like I was somewhere else. I'm like, yeah, like, yeah, that's
In that
normal.
space.
Yeah. You're in that space, So sometimes I do. I mean, I'll tell them, I said, I'm creating a space and I'm bringing everyone up, and, I'm bringing you into the space, and I'm bringing your past, like, cause like when I work on somebody's timeline, you're working, time isn't linear. So you could actually go back in time, so to speak. And when I go and work on somebody's timeline, I'll just go, okay, well, we're going to be inviting your 6-year-old self into this space, and I'm going to see what happened there, and how we can help her. And so it's just like, that's just how I've always done it.
Now, do you
So
actually, how do you see or feel or get that information? Is it visual? Is it just you feel it,
it,
or?
it's it comes in different every time, like different ways. Sometimes it's odd, like I'll hear it. Sometimes I'll see it with my within my mind's eye. Sometimes it's just a matter of knowing or actually feeling it in my body. So it comes in different ways. I don't know how it will be every time. It's not like I'm a straight, I'm straight a clairvoyant or whatever. It's like, again, I've made it a point to make sure that I was open enough to be able to receive whatever I need to receive, however it's got to come through.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is, it can be like I can see a movie in my mind, and it's that person's, movie, of a memory that they're having. It's pretty wild because it's like I am actually reading their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like telling people like, yeah, I can hear your thoughts, and I can, because that's a little weird, so I just like, oh, yeah, I'm
Depends
getting
on the
this,
mind, I guess.
yeah, I'm getting this memory from you, you're, 6 years old, and and you're lost in the woods, did that happen to you? Because it sure feels like it did. And they'll say, oh yeah, actually I got lost. I wandered off or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's a trauma. So and then we work on that. So
And then you can take the trauma and the energy around it and do all
yeah,
the stuff that you're doing in the safe space.
yeah. yeah, it's literally like just kind of going back in time and just and change and not allowing that child to get stuck in a fear loop, a loop of fear, of a loop of terror, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we're gonna take that child out of that.
Yeah.
It's almost like that child got like the best therapy it could possibly get right when the trauma happened, so it never got into that loop, or never got
Yeah, they don't have to relive being a scared child as an adult.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that is just another layer, right? That you're talking.
That's a layer, right? That's a layer, right? Exactly.
That's just covering up this abundant, beautiful, incarnate, embodied portion of God.
Exactly. You got it. Yeah.
Ta-da! Ta-da! So let's go back. You said loved ones come through. Now, these are loved ones that are coming through that you're speaking to, not on the phone, not phoning a friend. You are speaking to their spirits, and they could be dead or alive, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, I mean, again, we are energy. So, we are our energy, our who, how do I explain it? It's like our energy stories don't go away just because we, transition from the body. So, we stay intact, like that. Our consciousness is our consciousness. So yeah, it is kind of strange because sometimes I can't tell if somebody's deceased or not, because I'll have to ask the question. I'm like, yeah, I'm not exact. Sometimes they tell me like, oh yeah, I died, of cancer, and they'll just totally tell me that. And so okay, well, that person's deceased. But sometimes I can't tell because it's like the energy, the part of that person that I'm connected with, it doesn't matter if you're in a body or not, because I'm connecting with the pureness of that person, like they're, I guess they're, like their pure consciousness, like who, I'm connected with that. So, but it's quite interesting when somebody's transitioned loved one comes through, the things, I mean, they're, they really want us to get, to know what they know, and to live, like I think it's so fun, because they'll come through and they're just like, most of the time they're just like going, oh man, they just need to get over themselves, like, like it's not this, it's not, this isn't that important, or they'll, like, hey, it's all about like, live your life, enjoy your life, and like, we're still enjoying, they love to enjoy life with us. So like, they're enjoying, so they're very vested in us wanting to live more joyfully, because they live, they're experiencing it along with us.
Okay.
So
loved ones, so the people who pass on, they're not gone. They're still experiencing life.
Yeah, they're still experiencing it. My brother passed away several years ago, and and I talk to him quite often, and he, he was a loved nature, and he was very connected to nature, and he was like me. He was very intuitive, and was in my opinion, even more phenomenal. I mean, he was phenomenal. But he never did this for, he didn't work with people. He just, he was not interested in that. But anyway, when he comes through, it's just like, he'll go, oh my gosh. He'll say, oh my gosh, it's just amazing to be not in the body. And, like I can be, if I'm out in nature, he'll just like, like I'm the trees, I'm the, I'm everything. Like he says, he can experience everything at one time. So like, as I'm walking, I hike a lot, and as I'm walking in, down a path, like I can feel him. He's just like, I'm the dirt beneath your feet, and I'm the, and I'm that plant, I'm that bush over there, and I'm the wind hitting your face, and it's just like, I feel him that way, because it's like he told me, he says, he says, it's amazing. I am so liberated. I'm everything and everywhere. And I can be with anyone I want to, and be with everyone on this earth at the same time, because my energy has no limits. And so it was just like, wow, that's pretty awesome. I don't want to go anytime soon, but I was just like, wow, that's got to be pretty good, considering that he was, he had a really tough time in his physical body. And so, it just amazes me what the things, and he helps me too. Like he really, when he was alive, I kept saying, we're going to work together someday. We are going to work together. You're going to get through this illness, and we're going to work. I just have this strong feeling like we're going to work together. And he would just, he'd humor me and go, yeah, and I'm like, no, you're a really great healer. You're gonna, you're gonna help. You're gonna help a lot of people. And so when he passed away, it was clear that, okay, yeah, he is going to work with me, but just in a different way. And he has, since he's passed away, it's like he's been an amazing teacher and a guide. So
Wow.
we are working together. So it, just in a different way.
So death isn't the end, and we shouldn't be afraid of death.
No,
I think that's a blanket statement.
No, honestly, no, you really shouldn't, because, I if I hadn't had the experience that I had when my dad first came to me, when he passed away before my brother, when he first came to me, if I had not had that experience, and it was so life-changing. I mean, I wasn't connected that way. I mean, I was always very intuitive, but I really don't know if I was blocking that part of it, or I just didn't think I could do it, or what have you. But I was just lying in bed and I could just feel this energy around me, and it was so intense. And I was just like, what is that?
Was
And
this your first experience? Because you didn't tell the story.
Okay. Yeah. It was early on. I mean, how I got into all this work was when my brother got ill, and all these synchronicities happened. And I mean, I was working in finance. I was working, I was, had the corner office. Far from doing this work. And, but my brother got ill with cancer, and we weren't close. We weren't even talking. Like but I just felt this need to help him, and I didn't know how to help him, and he was not doing really well. And I just didn't know how to help him. And I'm sure my energy was booming through the office, and people could feel that I was trying to be, just do my work and not bring my personal life into the mix. But my director came in my office, closed the door, and said, I know something's going on with you. What is it? And so I finally told him what was happening. And he's like, okay, well, you can't tell anybody in the office because, they wouldn't understand, but I'm going to tell you something. And I was like, all right. And he's like, well, my wife is an energy worker. And I was like, okay, what is that? Electrodes? Or, I had no idea what the heck he was talking about.
Yeah.
And he's like,
wait a minute.
Well,
so back up for a second. Something happened with your dad before that happened?
No,
Not yet.
Okay. Not yet. Okay. So he told me, well, he had his wife call me and that night. And so it was amazing. I mean, she knew things about my brother that she shouldn't have known, and this and that. But the funny part was, before she even did the work, she was like, oh, you know what? I've been trying to connect with your brother and get permission to work on him, and he won't give me permission. And I was like, oh, well, that doesn't surprise me. He's a very private person, and, and all this. And she's like, well, you're going to have to, you're going to have to talk to him. I said, well, you don't get it. I don't talk to him. It's not like I can just call him up and go, hey, Dave, what's going on?
Yeah.
I said, we don't have that relationship. And she's like, no. She's like, you need to talk to a spirit. And I was like, well, I don't know how to do that. I don't even really understand what you're doing. And she's like, oh, no, you do. And I said, oh, no, I don't. And she's like, yeah, you do. Close your eyes for a minute and just take some deep breaths. And she said, I want you to remember back when you were a child, when you were a little girl and you were in the hospital and you had, I think you were near death. And I was like, how do you, I was just like, what? And then I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah. It was like a light switch came on. I was like, yeah, I do know how to do this. And then all of a sudden I was right there. I was like talking to him. I was like, well, listen, you need to let this lady in. I don't know how this is all going to work yet, but she's going to help you. And then she's like, okay, I'm in. And then we had the session. And so after the session was over, I was like, what in the heck just happened here?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this can't be real. Like, I don't understand this. And so I'm like, I got to do an experiment. So I went back in and connected with my brother and said, listen, I need to prove to myself that this is not malarkey. And like, I need you to be home tomorrow. I'm going to stop by on my way, at my lunch break, and I need to talk to you. So I need you to be home. And I left it at that. And so he lived like 5 minutes from my office. So I hopped over there. Truck wasn't in the driveway. I was like, oh, okay, this is a bunch of crap, right? And then a voice was like, go ring the doorbell. And I was like, oh, and so I went up and rang the doorbell, and he was home, and he was holding his little baby daughter in his arms. And he looked at me, and I looked at him like probably looked like two deers in the headlights. And I said, hello. I go, I need to talk to you. And he's like, yeah, because you've been in my head ever since last night. And I was like, uh-huh. And so we sat down, and for the first time in our whole time being brother and sister, we actually sat down and had a very amazing, open conversation that, I obviously didn't make it back to the office, but we had this amazing conversation. He was completely open to what had happened. And I said, I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know, but I just know that I'm part of your healing. I'm supposed to help you through this. You're going to be okay. You're not going to die of this in 6 months. And he's like, I believe that. I believe it too. And I was like, okay, well, let's just see how this goes. And then that's how it all opened up. And it was like, it happened so quickly. And so a couple weeks later, in my bed, I'm feeling, now I've opened up this world of feeling energy, and I'm all of a sudden I understand, I can hear people talking. It was like I had opened Pandora's box. And so I'm sitting in bed, and all of a sudden I feel this energy around me, and I'm just like, okay, what is this energy? Is this, and I'm trying to, like, I've never felt this kind of energy around me. And I'm like, okay, is this environmental energy? Is this my own energy? Is this, and then all of a sudden it was like, it started coming down. It started to settle in a little bit softer. Like the vibration came down enough where I could actually make out what it was. And I was like, oh my God. And I started bawling my eyes out because I knew it was my dad. My husband's in the other room. He was doing some work in the office, and I'm wailing, I'm crying. And he comes running in. I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, what? I'm like, my dad is here. And he's like, and he didn't know what to do. And he's like, I'll just leave you alone for a minute.
Okay.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so I always have a pad of paper and pen by my bedside. And I grabbed it, and I started writing down all these things that he wanted me to tell my mom and stuff. And
because he's passed away at this point, your dad. Yeah.
My dad had been passed away for about 1.5 years. And so I'm like writing all this stuff down, and then my aunt came through. That's another funny story. She came in as well, because it was like all of a sudden I had opened it up, and now all of a sudden I'm talking.
Hey, Teresa, open the line, everybody.
Well, yeah, my aunt died a couple days after my dad did. So anyway, wow. It was hilarious. Well, it wasn't hilarious at the time. It was very emotional, but I was just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And then my dad just said, just take some deep breaths and breathe. He's like, I go, well, I don't understand. I've been wanting to have some kind of confirmation that you're still here, or you're, where you went. I've been grieving. I've been, so sad. And now David's sick, and, I just can't handle all this. And he's like, it just wasn't the right time yet. You weren't ready. And I was like, okay. He's like, but you're ready. Just don't worry. It's all going to be fine. And, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. But if I hadn't had that experience, I wouldn't have believed that it would be possible that once you leave the body, you could come back. Because when you have that, it was life. It was, I don't even know how to put it into words. It was just like, it was the most real thing I'd ever felt. Right. It was just like, his energy, I knew it was him, obviously. It just was so moving. And I was just like, man, if I do connect with people's loved ones, I want them to feel like that. But they don't always feel like that. But, because it was just like, that is the best confirmation that there's life after death that there ever could be.
Yeah.
Because it was just, there's no question. I mean,
Right.
and that just helped me to this kind of like cement everything together. Like, this is real. We are not our bodies, and, and this work is important and you need to do it. It was just like, all right, cool.
How long were you in finance after that?
I worked for, let me see, that happened in 2000. I worked I'm about 3.5, 4 more. I think it was about 4 more years, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy because I had actually opened up to the office and said, like who I am, because it was wild, Jevon. People would come in my office that I didn't, off the street, and they would like come in. And because my office was really close to the entrance of the doors, I worked for a nonprofit in finance, and so we actually had a lot of people come in from the community and things.
Uh-huh.
But they normally wouldn't come into the administration offices; they would stay out into the main room where the community would come in. And so, but I'd have these people just like showing up at my door, like coming in and go, "Oh, I'm sorry. Is this where I'm looking for something?" I'm like, "No, you're not. You need to talk,"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, well, sure. Come on in, have a seat," And it was like, I was becoming like this therapist. And, thank God my CEO was okay with what was going down, actually, because I was helping everybody else at the office. And
That's right.
yeah, I mean, so it was
Your
just
role
kind
was
of
changing quickly.
my role was changing. I was still keeping up with my work, and that wasn't interfering with my duties there. So they didn't care, but it was very clear that I wasn't this was not my calling, to do finance. But it was pretty funny because it was just like these people would just kind of start showing up and coming in my office and sitting down, and I'd just be like, they didn't even know what I was, they didn't know I was like, okay, let me just shift that for them, and I'm going to shift this for them.
Right.
And then they just felt really good afterwards. And then they come back and like, "Oh my gosh, I just love talking with you the other, 2 weeks ago. Everything."
Right.
I go, "So many wonderful things have happened." I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome." It's like,
Wow, crazy.
that's great.
So what is it to heal? Because a lot of times people think healing is just their body works better, but in the end, our bodies always die, right? The machine stops as it's supposed to, and it seems like healing, it does make the body work, of course, but isn't there? It seems like there's a deeper.
No, I don't think. Yeah, I think that's, obviously our body is our vehicle. So that's the only way that we can experience our energy, can experience a life here, is through a body, right? So that's our point of reference. So of course, when we think of healing, we're going to assume it's for our body, because that's our vehicle. And yes, when you do energy work, it does help your body. It does help it to function better, but it's going to deteriorate. That's just the way it goes, right? I mean, that's aging process. I mean, hats off to if some energy person can figure out a way to reverse the aging process. That's awesome, but I haven't found that yet. But healing to me is, again, we're going back, kind of circling back to the originally what we were talking about, of like peeling away the layers. To me, that's healing. I don't think that anyone's broken, and I don't think that anyone really actually needs to be quote unquote healed. But I think healing for me is just getting them back to being connected to their true self. I think that's really what healing is all about. Mm-hmm. It's about, getting those layers away. You can call it, a lot of people are talking about the veil being, lifted, or the veil is getting thinner, and when the veil gets thinner, the truth comes, like the truth of who you are comes out, you're able to see the truth of who you are, right? You can see the truth of things. You can see how the universe works and things of that nature. So I think healing is mainly just, like lifting the veil more, and, or thinning the veil, you can say,
What are we seeing? I mean, what's the characteristics of a healed, or someone who is engaging, or maybe use the word embodied earlier. So our true self actually shining through our body, embodied. Is that what you
Yeah,
mean by
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. Like,
What does that look like? What's the characteristics that we would be noticing or seeing when that's happening for a
uh,
fully healed person?
uh, when I somebody is closer, getting closer and closer, or you can say more spiritually on the spiritual evolution scale or what have you. I they just they have an ease about them. They don't, they're not afraid of every little thing. I mean, obviously we still have to be, we still have to be engaged in this world, and there's still things we do. I mean, fear is necessary. I mean, sometimes it gets us out of trouble, right? We do have to, but it's just like not operating in that, you know, that I call it illusion. It's like just this illusion of life that it's, yeah, it's somebody that's just, to me, somebody's like, I feel something like I'm trying to something's trying to channel through, and I'm like going, oh my gosh, that's a lot of data coming at me, and I'm like, how am I? That's a big block of thought. How am I gonna talk about that? Let me try to simplify it.
Is that what's happening right now?
Yes, I'm like, and then I start to, when this happens, I can't talk really well. So
Yeah.
just bear
I'll
with
give
me
you
for a
some
minute.
time. But this will be
Yeah.
episode 2.
Oh my God. I mean, like all of a sudden I'm just like, something's trying, well, not something, I know what it is, but it's like trying to speak through me. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, slow down. Yeah, it's just, yeah, a matter of just, when somebody's, you can go even like, like when you really feel like you're in the zone, I mean, that's it. Like you're just, you feel really super connected. You feel good in your skin. You don't feel that life is against you. It's just a matter of just like, you just feel really, I don't know, like connected to everything, like you see that, okay, wow,
Like your brother.
yeah, yeah, like, wow, like I'm just not this body. I'm actually everything. And it's pretty cool, but it's hard for our brain to wrap that, get wrapped, like how can I be this, and also be that, and
Well,
it's,
we can see it a little bit, like as a
yeah,
culture. I see, like even how the fear of nuclear bombs isn't as great as it was when I was a kid,
yeah,
because nations in general are seeing, if I bomb that other country, it's going to
right,
harm our country, right? There's
right,
at a super basic level, of course, but
yeah,
there's a connectedness right there. Or even with
yeah,
the internet, like, hey, I'm talking with somebody, I don't care what race they are, right? I'm talking to a person, and I'm usually engaging with their avatar, and
yeah,
race has zero to do with anything. When
right,
So not too long ago, it was actually really important what race you were, or
right,
class you were, or status, and all those things are falling away on a very superficial level. But
yeah,
it seems like it's a symptom of what's happening on a deeper level of the realization of connectedness of.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's, like, I think it was back in like 2011, or maybe at the end of 2011, beginning of 2012, I think I had gotten, like a vision of this, and I think a lot of us intuitives got the same thing, honestly. And it was, seeing that there was going to be this big event that was going to happen, that was going to start the evolution, and it was called, like, I interpreted as a spiritual evolution, and that something was going to happen, and it was going to actually start the process of, again, it was like, you know we were talking about peeling away the layers, but the layers were going to start peeling away a lot quicker, and people were going to actually start to, really, see the truth of who we are, see that we are, truly connected, and it would change how we communicate. It would be changing how, our vibration we were going to be challenged to raise our vibration up more and more, and with this monumental shift. And and that those that were resistant to it, or just, didn't want to go with the program, so to speak, they were really going to suffer, and they were going to have they were really going to have a hard time with it. And that those of us that chose to be here at this time, we decided to come into the world at this time to help those through this transition.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I saw it. I didn't see all the details of it, but I knew it was going to happen. And then, the pandemic happened, and I was like, here we go.
Oh,
there,
yeah. This looks
here we
good.
go. This is the beginning, this was the beginning of it. And so it's like, and then I was, before the pandemic happened, I saw another vision of like them saying, well, we are going to be asked to consciously create a new world. And we're either going to fail at it, or we're going to, succeed. And those of us that chose to come at this time and be alive at this time of this transition, this evolution transition, whatever you want to call it, we were going to be helping those, to usher this in, and to, get form this new world, and so it's kind of exciting, because there's so many people, in what, what we do, and in what we believe in, and there's more and more that are, I see it more and more people that were never open to it before, and they're like, yeah, that makes sense, right? And so it's like, it's exciting. It's like, we are actually creating a new world as we speak. And so it's exciting, it's cool. So yeah, so
what would you say?
I'm sorry, guys. I was gonna say, programs like this podcast, and and so many other amazing people that I know you feel called to do what you're doing. And it's because it's like, we are like, okay, we're here, we've got to get this out, we've got to get more people on board, right? Like, we got to get them to, help them to get to the next level of consciousness, so that we can really start, this new world can form, so it's exciting.
It is. So what would you say? What's your advice for people besides booking a session with you at clareenergy.com? But besides that, which is a great start, what advice would you give people? Because that life, that flowing, abundant, free, without fear burdening you down, without the darkness, without all the weight of all the opinions of the world, being free like a kid, that's available for us. What would you say as direction for someone watching this? What could they do?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they can definitely do this themselves. They don't have to, see me or talk to me. I'd love to talk to people, but it's accessible to all of us. It starts really with an intention to do it. You make you set your intention of like, what? I want to be all of me. I want to experience what it's like to be the real me. And you set that intention, and allow allow the intention to flow, and to grow, and to expand. And you can simply just close your eyes and set your intention. You want to like kind of, it's hard at the beginning, because you're kind of like, well, I set my intention, but just like, don't get too hung up on, oh, I got to get in my heart space, or I have to meditate to do it. It's not that. It's a matter of like, if you feel it strongly, set the intention, because that, when you feel something really strongly, that means that the energy is lining up with your intention. And when the energy lines up with the intention, you can think of it as like, the intention, your intention is here, and the energy's here, and the energy is the rocket fuel, and your intention is a missile. So that, energy pushes that missile forward, and it goes out into the universe, and and it does its thing, right?
And then it seems like it's less important what you do, and it's more important to align with your intention, and then allowing, and then doing whatever when the energy's there. Is that
Exactly.
right?
I mean, yeah, you still have, you still have to take action when it's called for. But, it's just everything in our world was created by a thought first. It was created with an intention. Like a table didn't just come out of thin air. Somebody had to make an intention to make a table, right? They had to think, oh, I'm going to build a table. That's my intention. I'm going to build a table. And then the table becomes a table. It gets built, right? So it's the same thing. I know it's very simple. It sounds really simple, but it is really simple. We just complicate it. We think it's got to be so much more complicated. But if you just set your intention and you just let it do its thing, and then as things come into your reality that are lining up with your intention, like let's just say I want to take a trip. I want to go to Ireland, but I don't, but I want to I don't want to pay for any of my lodging or whatever. That's your intention, right? I only have money for the airfare. So I've got it. My intention is to stay there free, when I'm there. And so that's your intention. And so, you book your ticket, you really still don't even know where you're going to stay, and then all of a sudden things start kind of lining up, like, oh, there's a free promotion or stuff like that happens, right? Because you're allowing it to happen. You trust that it's going to happen. I mean, that takes a lot of faith to do that, but but it does work. I mean,
Yeah.
I do it all the time. Like I'll set my intention and I'm not worrying about how it's going to how it's going to manifest. I'm just like, okay, I've set my intention. I know the energy is aligned with it. I can feel that it's lined up with it. Now I just have to sit back and pay attention and act on things when I need to act on them.
Does that include setting intention? Include like visualizing what you want out of it, or is
Yeah,
that?
you could. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
an extra part, though. It's not.
Yeah, it's not
Not
necessary, but
necessarily.
you can definitely do that. I mean, here's the thing, like the energy, I don't know if you've been personally experiencing this, but I have. The way that we, like, the old way of manifesting things, like you visualized and you wrote down your intentions and all this stuff, but I'm just finding like the energy is working so much faster now. So it's like, once I just set my intention and I can feel the energy's aligned with it, it just, boom, it just happens really fast.
Yeah. My
I mean,
friend. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I just had a story about that. Well, it's about this podcast actually. I have a friend. His name's Rod, and he does the Golden Seal Productions, which is the emblem at the end of the podcast. And he had talked to me a while ago, and he said, "Hey, you should do a podcast." And I'm like, "Okay," And he does the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, give me a quote on what it takes to do your whole thing, and then we'll talk about it." Well, he kind of disappeared. He got busy doing a bunch of stuff, got sick, and anyway, so he shows up. I was thinking about doing the podcast again, and I'm like, man, I need to engage in the world in an intentional way,
Uh-huh.
because this broadcasting of love or whatever that feels like for me feels like an important thing for me to do. And Rod calls me, I think it was that same day. He's like, I'm in your neighborhood and I have a boom mic, a boom, and I have a mic and I have a green screen, and I'm going to drop it off. I think it's time for you to do. And I'm like, well, you never gave me a bid. He's like, oh, I'm not going to charge you for any of it. I'm just dropping it off right now.
Yeah. See?
I'm like, okay, come on over.
See what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's how fast it's working now, So I just tell people, yeah, like if you feel in your gut, in your solar plexus, whatever, wherever you feel the energy and it feels good, like, oh, I really feel called to do this, set your intention, because that's like a rocket. That energy is like rocket fuel, and it's just going to propel it forward, and you'll be surprised how fast things work.
Right.
You know,
And so
how
then
things,
we just got to let go of all the reasons it won't work, and let go of
exactly.
all what people will think, and let go
Yeah,
of
exactly. It's
the
just,
reasons why I can't do it, and right. So
yeah, it's allowing it, like you just like, okay, I set my intention and you let it go. Like you don't even think about, well, how's that going to happen? How's that even going to work? How's that going to look? Like let it go, let it do its thing,
yeah.
because the thing is that you're giving it the space for it to materialize a lot faster when you don't hold on to it. Because you can imagine, like, if you're still holding on to the rocket with a, like you're on the ground and you've got a rope hung, it's tied around it, and you're like trying to, like, wait a minute. Well, which direction are you going to go? And how high are you going to go? Well, you're not allowing it to just go and do its thing and, go in the direction it needs to go. So, yeah, I mean, it's amazing how things are manifesting so quickly.
Yeah.
So
wonderful.
Yeah, it is cool.
Tell me at the end here,
Mm-hmm.
what does God want us to know? The infinite creator.
The infinite creator wants us to know that we are loved unconditionally, that we are love, and that we are not broken. And we never were broken. We are absolutely whole. And that the joy in life is rediscovering that wholeness.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Well, Teresa, I really appreciate you.
Appreciate you too. And I'm so excited for you. I can see big things happening, and I'm excited. I'm not going to give away all the secret because I want you to experience them.
The secrets.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I just, I can see a lot of movement, and it's like, it's exciting. And, you're part of you're part of this amazing amount of people that came into the world, were born into the world to be here at this time. And you're part of that, I don't know, I call it kind of like God's army of, of helpers, and, to help us all through this transition and forming the new world. And so the work that you're doing is extremely important. And I thank you for being here and for sharing and being yourself and sharing yourself with us. And it's going to help a lot of people. So thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Well, that's truly wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you as well. If you would love to connect with Teresa, clareenergy.com. I'll put the language in the podcast. Hopefully you can click on it, book a session. She's amazing. And we'll have to do this again. Thanks so much again.
Yeah. I love talking, of course, so
you're a good talker.
Anyway, I'm a talker. So, all right.
See you soon.
Okay. See ya. Bye-bye.